Hello, my name is Laura Teo. I'm an intuitive coach, energy healer, and astrology consultant. And the reason why I'm here is because I want to take the opportunity to reintroduce myself as there are new followers. I know there's new people out there that are listening to my content and looking at my content on video as well. And I just want to tell you part of my story before my spiritual awakening happened. Because that, everything that was happening back then, is really how I got here and why I am sitting here making this video and this podcast. So it all began 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I went through a tower moment in my life, and you know that I love the tarot cards. They're actually one of the tools that I use the most for my own personal guidance, but also for my clients. And in the tarot cards, there is one particular card that is the Tower. And if you don't know the Tower, I'm just going to tell you what it is. The Tower talks about, when it shows up, it talks about the structures that we have built in our life. It can be in different areas of your life or your entire life as a whole. Those structures, for some reason, they start to fall down. There's an earthquake happening in your life, and this structure cannot sustain. Why cannot it cannot sustain? Because it's not in alignment with who you are supposed to be. That structure helped you for some time, but because as a structure is not in alignment with you, with who you really are, with your soul, and with your soul path, you cannot stay anymore. You cannot stay there. And for me, that tower moment came up as losing my job. And I want to put you into context. I think that some of you know, because I have mentioned it before. I am originally from Dominican Republic. I moved to Canada more than 15 years ago. So I'm in Canada. I'm already divorced. Like the father of my kids had left back to DR. So I was alone. Most of my family is still in DR. And I'm here with my two kids. And I have a relationship in that moment that was very significant for me, because it was the first real relationship that I allow myself to have after my divorce. And so me opening up to a relationship was a big deal, but that relationship also was falling apart. And so I lose my job. The relationship is no longer there. I moved back to my my previous house, my own house. And at the same time, a lot of things were happening at daycare with my son. I think he was like around 2.5 years old, 3 years old. And back then, we didn't know he had autism yet. But there were behavioral issues that came up as a result of a communication difficulty. And so imagine that my son was in a different daycare every year. So imagine all that happening with me losing the job and that relationship. I was falling apart. I felt like, what is going on? This cannot be happening. why this is happening. Why is this happening to me? And I cried a lot because I was really broken inside. I was really questioning myself, not in a positive way. It was more of a blaming situation that I was doing. I had a lot of regrets. I had a lot of resentment. I was not understanding. I was kind of like in a victim mode, trying to understand why things were happening the way they were. But I'm not a bad person. Why is this happening to me? As if difficulties only happen to bad people. But I was. That's what that. Oh my God, those were all of the thoughts that were going through my mind, or some. And that tower moment really broke me down. And I was talking to a friend one day, and I realized that previous to having that tower moment, many moments I had many signs kind of trying to guide me into a direction of changing. Especially it was more in the relationship I was having, because I was deep inside, I was not happy. I felt trapped. I felt that I needed to prove myself, that I wasn't good enough. And the relationship really wasn't, it was kind of a toxic relationship. I was not allowed to be who I was in complete shine. But then at the same time, I didn't know who I really was. Not at all. I didn't know who I was. All the time I was just showing myself as the person I understood I needed to be, just to get the external appreciation, or be loved, and be accepted. But it wasn't really the true me, the true Laura. So I was saying that before I was getting signs, I was having nightmares so often in the relationship, and I was feeling suffocated. I was feeling like I couldn't breathe. And those, now I understand that those were signs that relationship was not in alignment with me, but I didn't want to see it. I was blinded, or I didn't really want to see what was going on. So the tower moment came. It's like the universe said, listen, Laura, you need to wake up. So this is going to have to happen. This is it. This is happening. And I lost everything, and I felt so confused, and I was in pain. And the only thing that really got me going were my kids. I really see my kids as, and I get emotional when I say it, because at that point my kids were my saviors. If it wasn't for them, I don't know what I would have done, because I was so depressed. I was so down. And it's because of them, because I knew that they needed me. They didn't have anybody else. They needed me to be strong, and they needed me to be better, because they deserve better. They deserve the best, to have their mom as the best person that she can be. And up until that point, I wasn't, because inside everything was a mess. And um, so I think that everything started really to shift when I asked myself two very important questions. Who am I? And why am I here? Because I knew that life couldn't be just about suffering. Life couldn't be just about pretending to be something that I was not. Life cannot be just about going to sleep, waking up, going to work, do what you have to do, come back and repeat. And I dared to ask myself the questions: who am I? Why am I here? But I also had the courage to start looking for those answers. And I knew that those answers were deep inside of me somewhere. So I asked these questions, but of course, I'm not awake yet. That was the starting point, I would say, of my healing journey. Then I realized, and these were things that started to, now I can give order kind of to what was happening, but everything is like, oh my god, even the emotions were, everything was a mess. It was foggy. It was, I couldn't see clear. But one of the things that really started my healing journey, that had led me to that spiritual awakening, was different things that I needed to embrace. And one of those was having awareness. Having awareness, and it's about being present. Notice myself. Notice what is going on inside, in my heart and in my mind. Noticing and understanding those emotions. And being in that awareness, being aware, being awake, noticing that, the part of me that is always there. And I don't know if you understand, is like the self within me. And noticing my actions, noticing my words, noticing my feelings, my thoughts, and, for example, the actions of other people, how I perceived them. It was a constant state of noticing myself, recognizing my strengths, recognizing my weaknesses, for sure, recognizing what is important to me, what is not. I mean, it was a lot of looking within and checking up for whatever felt in misalignment. Okay, does this feel right to me or not? Okay, so that was one of the things, having that awareness. Then comes that acceptance of whatever I notice in that awareness process. I need to accept. I needed to just let it be. When this type of awareness brought to me, or this type of acceptance, brought to me an emotion that I didn't know, which was unconditional love to myself. This was, up until then, kind of like a foreign thing. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what that unconditional love. What? What is that supposed to do? And it's not something that I could have given meaning back then, it just showed up as a result, kind of like I need to be kind to myself. And an act of kindness that I can do to myself is really accept myself and accept what shows up and allow it to be present, allow it to be there. It's like it's there, no judgment. I am just seeing things kind of like an observer with objectivity, no judgment, because, and this is very important, things that you don't like about yourself are gonna show up. And you cannot start penalizing yourself for those things to show up, because then you will never heal. You will never be able to continue on that path. So that self-acceptance, unconditional love, really was very important in the process of getting there, right? Then it comes to the moment where you say, okay, well, nobody's doing anything for me. This is something that I need to do for myself, by myself. I can find help, which I did. I did find people that were able to support me in this journey, people that had walked that path before, that could shine kind of like a light, but of course guidance. But the real work happens when I did it, or happened when I did it. And this is when you say, okay, this is it, nobody's doing anything for me, nobody's coming, nobody's saving me. The only person that can save myself is me. I am the only one. So that takes you taking responsibility for yourself, and that's what I did. I took actions that were important to me, and I took actions that I needed to take for me. So that responsibility for my own life, for my healing process. And then I think that after this responsibility came the fact and the understanding that I have a choice. Like you have a choice. I could have very easily continued on the path of not looking within and continue blinded in my life and continue, receiving things in life and then asking myself, why is life so unfair? And I didn't want that path. I wanted the path of having that inner peace. I wanted the path of knowing who I am. I wanted to connect with myself, and I wanted also to have a good relationship with divinity. It was very important to me. And I needed to take that choice. I took the choice of myself and following my path and finding myself. So you always have the choice in your spiritual journey and in life in general, right? You decide where to go. You can decide what to do. You can decide to stay where you are and everything stays the same and be the victim forever, or you can decide to show up for yourself and change the course of your life. And I did that. So it's kind of like reclaiming my own power. And then my healing journey began or continued, and I started, taking more steps into healing different things that showed up, healing my self-esteem, healing my relationship with myself, self-love, dealing with resentments that I was carrying, dealing with regrets that I was carrying, changing my mindset, changing the way I was perceiving things. And this is an ongoing thing. If you think healing has a beginning and an end, it has a beginning, but an end, there's always things that show up. Why? And I think I mentioned it before, but if not, here it comes. There's always gonna challenges are always gonna show up in life. Why? Because there's always a possibility of a higher consciousness. So let's say you start here at the bottom and then you start working on yourself and you start healing and your consciousness starts to elevate. But there's always another level up here. And when you continue your healing and you go higher, there's always another level that goes higher. So it really never ends. But our purpose here as souls is really to get soul evolution, to get higher consciousness, raise our vibration. Higher consciousness for us means higher consciousness for the planet, for the universe. So this is for now what I wanted to share. I don't want to make this super extra long. I would love to hear from you. Please tell me, how has your journey, have you started your journey? Are you thinking about it but haven't started yet, haven't found the courage? I would like to know how your experience has been. So for those of you who are listening, who are looking at the video on YouTube or listening to the podcast, thank you very much. And remember to subscribe, remember to keep coming back. I want to share from my heart, from my experience, and I would love to be able to support you and get to know you. So thank you, and see you next time.